Get ready to witness the tale of a true legend, the story of a warrior who fought with unmatched bravery and conquered kingdoms. He is the one and only Big Z, a name that has instilled fear in the hearts of his enemies. Brace yourself for an adventure of a lifetime. After tending to the wounded soldiers, Big Z led his men to capture another Roman castle. Big Z led his men to the walls to engage in skirmishes and weaken the Roman soldiers before pushing in with all their might to storm the castle. Big Z stared in confusion at the dead archer. Facing a small militia, Big Z and his men were able to capture the castle with ease. Poor innocent civilians died for a cause they believe in. Big Z strategically ignored the rebellious cities, using them as a buffer against the Roman Empire. The execution of their top generals had weakened the Romans, and they were losing clans at an alarming rate.
Fate smiles on me today. I can think of no sweeter music than your death rap.
Facing overwhelming odds, Big Z knew he had to use the terrain to his advantage, utilizing narrow pathways and high ground to allow his companions to hold off the larger enemy force. They stood firm, letting the Romans repeatedly bash against their shields, wave after wave. The enemy retreated. Big Z and his men chased after them, but it was a trap. The enemy turned around and Big Z and his men found themselves in the water, slowing them down. After executing 3 more Roman lords, Big Z and his men set their sights on the siege of Gusenfolk. As they initiated the siege, Big Z cut off any outside forces from the castle. However, the Romans attempted to intervene. His men relentlessly rained volleys of javelins upon the oncoming Roman army, decimating them in the process. After executing 2 Roman generals who tried to stop the siege, Big Z's army successfully took the city, and the remaining militia laid down their arms. As a gesture of goodwill, Big Z made a generous donation to the local vendor and bestowed a castle to one of his most trusted generals. Realizing that his current forces were insufficient to take on the might of Donistica, Big Z set about building a larger army. He patiently waited in Gusenfolk until reinforcements arrived, and then they set out to find a Roman army to attack in order to execute the generals they have left. The enemy forces, positioned on the high ground, made it difficult for Big Z and his men to engage them directly. However, Big Z was not deterred and utilized his companions to take out the horse archers with a relentless barrage of javelins. His spearmen were then sent to take out the enemy cavalry, paving the way for the main army to ascend the mountain and engage the enemy in battle. Big Z's right flank had been completely demolished, but on the left flank, his companions dominated the enemy forces. And lo and behold, Big Z couldn't be more proud of his companions. Their performance on the battlefield was nothing short of magnificent. As fortune would have it, the Hidden Hand clan found themselves in a precarious situation as 3 of their generals were caught fighting alongside the Roman army. However, instead of facing the wrath of Big Z and his men, luck was on their side. Big Z, feeling generous and perhaps sensing an opportunity for future alliances, decided to spare the Hidden Hand generals and allow them to escape the execution they surely deserved. It was a surprising turn of events, but one that would not be forgotten by those involved. As Big Z's army grew in strength, they finally felt ready to launch an attack on Donistica. With a resounding blow of the battle horns, Big Z sent his troops charging towards the enemy stronghold.
Infantry, forward! Load!
Big Z's strategy was to infiltrate the enemy's tower with his strongest soldiers, nullifying their numerical advantage by controlling the choke points. Big Z and a couple of his trusted companions made their way to the backside of the battle, aiming to flank the enemy and gain a strategic advantage. Big Z fiercely cuts down everything in his path, employing the tactics and ferocity of a Spartan warrior. Big Z and his men fought with ferocity, cutting down over half of the enemy soldiers in the castle. Big Z generously donates to the vendors in Donistica to help them rebuild their businesses after the battle. He decides to reward one of his trusted generals with a castle for their hard work and loyalty. If Shemesh questions Big Z again, he will be dismissed from his position. This was the warning Big Z gave after the second time Shemesh raised objections. With a determined look on his face, Big Z quickly grabs one firepot after another and hurls them down at the clustered Roman forces below. As Big Z slipped and fell off the wall, his men quickly opened the gates to allow him to return inside the castle walls. But their respite was short-lived, as the Romans were already scaling the ladders and gathering near the entrance. Big Z ordered his forces to launch a barrage of deadly projectiles from a nearby street, hoping to thin the enemy's ranks before they charged. Despite their efforts, the Romans charged forward, and Big Z's army was forced to retreat to the castle keep to minimize casualties. The Spartan armor was no match for the Roman spears and swords, and they had to rely on their wits and strategic position to hold out against the relentless onslaught of their enemies. With the execution of 2 more Roman generals, Big Z set his sights on the next target, the city of Onira. As he prepared for the siege, he was surprised that no outside forces attempted to stop him. With fearless determination, Big Z charges through the enemy's front line, alone like a true Spartan warrior. He makes a beeline towards the archer towers, with the sole purpose of minimizing the damage his troops take from the rain of arrows, and to seize control of the wall. The clang of swords and the thud of spears against shields fill the air as Big Z carves his way towards his objective, his men following close behind, inspired by his bravery. Despite his wounds, Big Z valiantly led his troops in a fierce melee to finish off the remaining Romans. He was astonished by the efficiency with which he and Gadili had vanquished the Romans. After Big Z executed a 19-year-old Roman general, he was faced with the issue of Shemesh's disloyalty and constant questioning. What actions do you think Big Z should take in response to Shemesh's behavior? Big Z expresses his deep gratitude towards his viewers and the 500 subscribers who have supported him. He is truly thankful to have such a loyal and dedicated community. Do you have a preference for whether Big Z should conquer the Western Roman Empire or take on a different challenge? Share your thoughts in the comments.